What is non-duality?
Yeah, as it is described, what I remember, that is that the knower, the known, and the known itself are one. Or
One.
mm,
Non-duality is this oneness.
yeah, the one. I don't know if it is oneness. I don't know. If it is the oneness or if it is the one.
So there is something called the one. The one.
Yeah. That's what I'm not saying. For me, it's a matter of as a student or a pre-student, how can I assert something which I don't quite know? It is not the experience itself from which I can talk of.
You must keep looking at the framework within which you are talking. I am a student, and if I have to say something, it must come from the domain of my experience. All of these are not merely statements. These are the assumptions, the foundations on which you are living your life.
Mm-hmm.
What you are saying is that you are a student, that truth is a matter of knowledge, and knowledge comes from experience. Let's see.
And from the scriptures.
Which is another experience, right? Reading.
Yes.
Passing through.
Yeah, that's correct.
None of that. First of all, this thing about non-duality as the knower, the known, and the knowledge being one. When you open your eyes, you look outside, all you see is differences, all you see is multiplicities,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
many
Yeah. Yeah.
diversities. That's what you see.
That's what I'm saying. It's out of the perspective of only the senses. Yeah.
Yes. This infinite diversity is reduced to two when you just say the knower and the known. Then all the differences, all the plurality that you see outside is summed up in one word, the known. And you, the knower, are the one who is experiencing that known. So the world is the known, and you, the self, are the knower. And that which is happening between you and the world, that relationship is of knowledge. Right? Meaning that the world holds to you is called knowledge.
Yeah.
So this infinity is first of all reduced to two. You
Yeah,
need not
so-
talk of many, you just need to talk of two. Or you may talk of three, a triad. Knower, known, knowledge, which is the same as talking of two, the knower and the known, because where the knower and the known are, knowledge would necessarily be there. Ordinarily, we live our life in this sense of two-ness. We take these two to be real. These two are the two pillars on which we stand. We take the world to be real, and we take the perceiver of the world, which is the I, to be real. This two-ness is what this world ordinarily seems to be functioning on. Yes? This two-ness is obviously called as duality. You so now know what duality is? The common mode of perception of the world. There is the world, there is me. This is duality.
Yeah.
Alright?
So illusion.
There is the world, there is me.
Mm-hmm.
I am the subject, the world is the
Object.
object. This is duality.
Mm-hmm.
Alright?
Alright.
Now, oneness is a delicate matter. From two, when you are coming to one, you have to be very careful. As careful as you are when on a slippery road. Apparently, it seems that when these two will not be separated, when these two will be united, then you will be left with one. So it is fashionable to talk of oneness. Oneness seems to hold the promise of lack of separation. Oneness seems to indicate a very peaceful unity. But please see that whenever you are talking of one, you have already created something.
Created the duality.
Yeah.
Right? That something according to you has no distinctions. That something according to you is one homogeneous mass or one homogeneous emptiness. But what you do not quite see is that it is impossible to have one without the other. Wherever there is one, there is bound to be something outside the one in which that one is located. That is how the mind functions. That is how the mind talks of anything. That is how the mind can utter the word one. You raise your head and what do you see? You see one sun. There is no second sun. But does that mean that there exists nothing but the one sun? You are able to talk of the one sun because there is space outside the sun. Because there is something else beyond the sun. The sun begins and ends somewhere, that is why you are able to call it as one. Getting it? So, oneness is then nothing but hidden duality.
What is hidden duality?
Duality. In duality, you are at least saying that the two poles of duality are distinct and they exist. In oneness, you entertain yourself by saying that the two poles are one. What you do not see that you are still dealing in duality, where the two poles that you coalesced into one are now just one pole with another pole lying somewhere else. Do you see this? But oneness attracts. Oneness attracts. Oneness attracts because oneness, as we had just said, offers the promise of peace. It offers something beyond duality. So there is a lot of talk of oneness quite often. Oneness cannot exist without two-ness. And where there is two-ness, now there would be manyness. So oneness and manyness are just the same. Do you see this? Yes. So non-duality is therefore not at all about oneness. Had they wanted to say oneness, they would not have said non-dual. They would have simply said one. Now one is not the same as not two. And remember, they did not need to say not two, not one. Why did they not say not two, not one? Why did they just say not two? Because that which you call as one is anyway two. That which you call as one is anyway two.
Yeah.
So you only need to demolish the two. One is anyway two. You demolish the two, one is demolished on its own. One is an illusion. Are you getting it? One is an illusion. So they did not need to say not one. They just said advait, not two. Not two. Non-duality. Are you getting it? Then the question arises that if it is not two, not one, then is it zero? Should they have said shunya, zero? If they wanted to say not two, not one, why couldn't they directly say zero? They didn't directly say zero because your zero is a very full zero.
Yeah.
It is a fake zero.
An enclosed zero.
It is theoretically exactly what is implied by non-duality, but only theoretically. When we say zero, the mistake that we have made is that we have said zero. It is not the same mistake that we made when we said one. But it is still a mistake. Zero pronounced is not the same as zero.
Exactly. It has a little quantity to it.
Yes. Zero uttered is not the same as emptiness. In other words, the moment you say zero, you have spoiled zero. Which is not the case when you say non-dual. Which is not the same as when you say not to. In saying not to, you have not said anything.
Yeah. You've annulled the whole thing.
But in saying zero, you have asserted something. Now, these appear easy to listen to, but these are exactly the mistakes that we commit in daily life. We just said zero pronounced is zero spoiled. To put it more lyrically, to pronounce it is to denounce it. Yet all that which dwells in this zero, we are so fond of announcing. You want to announce love, you talk so much about God.
Freedom.
You remain a chatterbox. You cannot keep your mouth shut even when it comes to silence. You must utter silence. Now, silence uttered is noise. That is why it was not even called as zero, because zero uttered becomes non-zero. The beautiful minds were very precise in their choice of word. Advait, non-dual. Non-dual is not two, not one, not even zero, and not even not two, not one, not even zero. And not even, not two, not one, not even zero. Do you see this infinite chain of knots? This is devotion. This is bhakti. To be continuously surrendered. To not to let the mind rise at any point. It will seek some point where to discontinue the chain. It will say yes, not two, not one, not zero. And all this that I have just said is an affirmed truth. The chain is broken. The mind has to continuously go on saying this like an echo being repeated between two giant mountains. An infinite, never-ending echo. Where the echo ends, the ego begins. Repeating it. Where this echo of notness ends, what begins is the ego. Non-duality is about being absolutely clear that nothing is going to sustain in the inner clarity. Clarity means clarity, spotless clarity.
Stillness.
There must be nothing there. Not even the feeling that you know. Not even the gladness that you understand. The moment you are glad that you know, you have lost it, like the naive child who thinks he still has the chocolate in his pocket. but has actually dropped it long back. But he is internally feeling a pleasure, a security. The chocolate is still there. He has dropped it somewhere. The moment you feel or think anything about non-duality, you have lost it. In fact, as far as possible, you must also avoid uttering the word non-dual. Though the word is constructed with due safeguards, it is constructed to be foolproof. Yet who can size up the fools? You never know what great accomplishment the fools are up to. So without being complacent with respect to the fools, just try to stay silent. The mind can co-opt anything. It can co-opt even non-duality. It can co-opt even silence. Non-duality is to be left with nothing as your own. Not the world, not even your knowledge, and not even an understanding that neither the world nor your knowledge are your own. Non-duality is not an understanding. It is not a conclusion. It is freedom from anything and everything that can appear in your consciousness. Non-duality is total freedom. You just cannot have a conclusion about non-duality. You just cannot have an image of non-duality. Not even a blank canvas represents non-duality. Not even silence represents non-duality. So it is not a scripture that you are reading. You have to go to this scripture with a totally different quality of mind. Remaining what you are, if you go to the scripture, you will only get words. And you may become very adept at memorizing those words. You may become very proficient in recalling them, using them, throwing them at yourself or others. It doesn't matter. You may be able to see the interlinkages between one verse and the other. You may even be able to establish relationship between one scripture and the other. You may be able to do the impossible with the scripture. Still, you are doing it. Non-duality has been missed. Non-duality has been missed, just as when you throw a stone to hit the sky, the stone will invariably miss its target. But you, the thrower of the stone, the vain one, will find that you have earned the rights to say that you have hit the sky. You will say, yes, I threw up the stone, and the stone did indeed make a hole in the sky. Moment you throw words at non-duality, they are like stones thrown at the sky. They will miss the target. To use words is to approach the infinite with violence. And words are not always expressed. Every thought, every feeling, every attitude, every affirmation, every negation is a word. To have anything for non-duality is just like having a stone for the sky. It is pathetic, it is violent, and you run a risk that the stone might fall on your own head. The Upanishads say that of course those who think that they do not know are doomed. But even more deeply doomed, even more unfortunate are the ones who get a sense that they are getting it. They use the metaphor of a deep dark well. They say that in a deep well fall those who are ignorant. But in an even deeper well fall those who are smug, glad, confident in their knowledge that they know or understand. Non-duality is a constant reminder that whatever is your state of mind right now is just another falseness that you are patronizing. It might even be the most silent state of mind. It might even be the most devoted state of mind. It might be the most inquisitive state of mind. But if it is your state of mind, irrespective of what it is your poison, it is your burden. Right now, you are glad about it, very soon you would be in tears about it. Non-duality talks a lot. The Ribhu Gita, for example, an ardent scripture in non-duality, is a tremendous volume, large. Thousands of verses. But those thousands of verses are not only about silence but in silence. total silence, dropping even the comfort and security that you know what silence is. Being courageous to even drop the conclusion that you are all right, that you are well, that you are courageous, that you are peaceful. Such courageless courage, such infinite courage is non-duality. If you are courageous and you know that you are courageous, you are missing non-duality. If you are loving and you know that you are loving, you are missing non-duality. If you are surrendered and you know you are surrendered, you are missing non-duality. If right now I speak and you know what I am saying, then you are totally missing me. You are missing me if you think you do not know what I am saying. And you are missing me even more if you are nodding to me, if even the slightest thought is arising in you that you know. Non-duality takes away your ignorance, but your ignorance was never so much of your enemy in the first place. Non-duality does something far bigger. It takes away your confidence. It takes away your sureness. It takes away your knowledge. It takes away the very earth that you stand on. Yes.
I have a question. Does it refer to when you were talking earlier about the Neti-Neti?
Yes. You know why it is needed to said Neti-Neti? Why the word Neti is repeated? Why not just say Neti? What did we say about two? Today we started with the great diversity that we see around us. The thousands of things, objects that this universe is. Then we said that all infinity can be summed up in two. So two means infinite. So when it says Neti-Neti, read it as Neti-Neti an infinite number of times. Otherwise they would have just said Neti, not this. Sutras. aphorisms are not general gossip. They come from minds of the tallest stature, and they are only for minds that are prepared to reach the same heights. Dull minds, who would just take things as at face value, not go into their essence, would keep on missing the scriptures. So what does it mean to repeat Neti an infinite number of times? What is meant by that? Let us see.
It's excluding this and that and that and that and that and that.
Not quite. And you must also be mindful of the tendency of the mind to hop ahead of itself.
To?
Hop ahead of itself.
Yeah.
The mind has a tendency to guess.
Yeah.
And all guessing is in the future. By guessing, you create a future, and by trying to guess the teacher, you inflate yourself. That's how the mind works. If it must believe that it already knows, then it must also believe that it will know everything that is going to come its way next. Because I already know. So whatever is going to be spoken next, that too I know. That is something that you can watch with a smile. The mind. The old boy is at its old tricks again. And remember, it is not your mind. It is the very habit of this mind. It is the very stuff of this mind to try to live in a false confidence. I know. Neti, repeated an infinite number of times, has a special significance. We talked of the infinite echoes between the two mountains. Let us take up another example now. Let's say you are close to an object, something that has a tendency to be sticky and spoil your hands. The moment you touch it, your hands are spoiled, right? And that object is a very all-prevailing object. All objects in the vicinity are made up of that grand object itself. Yes? Now, you are stuck with that object. You somehow happened to have touched that object. That object, we said, is sticky. And not only sticky, it taints your hands when they touch it. A little bit of that object is left on your hands. Now your hand has become glued to that great object. Yes? You are trying to redeem yourself from there, but it is very difficult. Because the same hand that you could have used to redeem yourself is now itself the thing that is stuck. So you are left with no choice but to use some other object to free yourself from this big one. Getting this? You say Neti to this big one. You say not this. If I touch this, then I remain spoilt, tarnished. So you say, not this. This one is not for me. But to extricate yourself from this one, you must touch something else. You pick up a smaller object. Let's say a large stick. And you use that stick as some kind of lever to redeem yourself from this, and you succeed. Your hand is free, you thank God. You heave a sigh of relief. Yes? But what do you now find?
The stick is stuck.
Now the stick has stuck to your hands, because all objects are made up of the same stuff that the mother object is made of. Now it is upon you to free yourself from this stick. You say Neti to this stick. Not this. Alright, I got freedom from that. But even this is not from me. I want freedom from this as well. So you pick up a smaller stick. And you use that stick somehow to redeem your hand. And indeed you do succeed. Your hand is now free. But what do you find now? This smaller stick has stuck to your hand. You must say Neti to this also. Yes? So you pick up another stick, even smaller, and you use that to get rid of this one. Neti, 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 Neti. And you keep saying Neti an infinite number of times. Even once, if you stop saying this, you find that you are still dirty. Are you getting this? That is why it has to be Neti, an infinite number of times. Because whatever you use as a method of liberation becomes your next bondage. Hence, freedom has to be continuous. It cannot be an event. It has to be an everlasting process. And because it is everlasting, we better call it timeless. Freedom then is not about reaching a particular goal post. It is about continuously saying Neti. Now instead of writing Neti an infinite number of times, it saved paper and time to just say Neti twice. 2 means infinity. 2 rabbits left on a continent can populate that entire continent with rabbits, given some good luck and sufficient fertility. 2 is infinity. You getting it? We make the mistake of stopping, of compartmentalizing. We have all the good intentions. And we have the vigor as well. We say Neti with force. We bring down the axe in our hand with force. Neti, not this. Then we go to sleep. Neti-Neti means it must never stop. You must never stop. There can be no divisions. There can be no point at which you can say it stops. Remember, where the ego stops, the ego begins. Where Neti-Neti stops, there iti begins. This and that. Now you will be valuing in this and that. Like a spoilt brat wallowing in dirty waters. Yes? Continuous, which means, do you know what continuity is? Do you know what it means to live a life of unbroken surrender? It is very easy to be surrendered for a while. You don't even have to do that. A powerful teacher can cause that to happen through the sheer weight of his presence. He will induce surrender in you. But do you know what it means to be surrendered? What it means to be attentive? It means that irrespective of what comes, peace, truth, and nothing else remains your highest priority. Which means that when you are in peace, you will let peace continue and not let it be broken at any point. Neti-Neti. People tend to ask me, they say that when we are with you, there is peace. There is no doubt there is peace. But why is it lost? I said, okay, let's rewind. There is peace, there is peace, there is peace, there is peace. And then comes a point when there is no peace. What happened at that moment? How did peace turn into no peace? Peace has no way of turning into disturbance. You are peaceful, and suddenly you say, not peaceful. How did that happen? That happens because you have vigor, but not total surrender. In your vigor, you jump, but you don't quite have the stamina to last. You begin, but you give up midway. Spirituality is not a 100-meter sprint. It is the marathon of marathons. Those who run like deers are not invited here. You require the one who keeps taking step after step without ever stopping. And each footstep rings Neti, 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 Neti. Instead, you want to run fast and reach. You are ambitious even with respect to God. So you sprint and then you stop. Looking at you right now, who would doubt that you understand? But what would happen if you are looked at 2 hours later? In fact, to begin and to stop is a torture even bigger than to have never begun. Because now you know what it means. Now you have tasted that peace. And to taste it and lose it is torture of the worst kind. In some sense, better than you are than those who never feel they have tasted it. They are well adjusted. Their compromise is firmly established. Like the coffin is firmly established in the earth. It's not something in time. It must have a certain timelessness about it. It must be unconditional. It cannot happen that here you sit listening to me and somebody knocks on the door and immediately all heads tilt towards the door. What nonsense. Don't you see what is happening? Truth is your highest priority only when there are no other priorities. The moment some other priority comes, truth drop downs the list. So while you are honest and correct in saying that right now the truth is your highest priority, don't you see that it is your highest priority only because it is a default priority. When nothing else is there, then you say, all right, now truth. When something else is there, then that thing assumes importance. Non-duality, which points so much towards a great nothingness, a standstill, can be equally well seen as a great continuation. It is a total stopping and a great perpetuity, which are both one. Unless you have stopped totally, you will not have the stamina to keep walking till the horizon. Are you getting it? We are accustomed to divisions. I had said compartmentalization. Here in this room, you are spiritual. But your spirituality will stop the moment you cross the threshold. Then you will become Dutch or professionals or man or woman or host or athletes or whatever. Non-duality means living a life of no thresholds. It simply does not stop. It is only for the one who says, I am committing myself without conditions, come what may. You know this? Come what may, you don't know this. All you know is conditions. You say, if such things remain, if certain conditions are fulfilled, then I am all yours. And you say that not only to your husband or wife, but even to the truth. I remain yours provided the right conditions are there. Now, right and wrong are a game of chance, a game of your own fickle mind. You may declare when it is right and you may declare when it is wrong. It has nothing absolute about it. Here in the West especially, you do not quite know what it means to be unconditionally something. Unconditionally, you just want to preserve your ego. That is the only unconditional thing that you know. Come what may, I will protect myself. That is the only thing unconditional. Otherwise, everything stops, everything has limits. The husband can be divorced, the kid can be abandoned, the pet animal can be slaughtered. Anything and everything is feasible. Nowhere do you say, no, not this, not this, not ever, not in any condition. This total commitment, this absolute surrender is unknown to man everywhere, and much more so in the West. Non-duality means I stay. Now, nothing is left to think. And when there is nothing left to think, there is no thinker and no thought, and hence non-duality. Whenever there would be limits, there would be somebody checking whether those limits have been crossed. So thought will be needed. Do you see this? Wherever there would be limits, there would be somebody ascertaining whether the line has been crossed. So there is bound to be duality. In one matter of life, at least in one matter of life, you have to give up all your choices. You have to declare that I am done. Now silence. The matter is resolved. The meeting is dismissed. Now silence. Now there is nothing left to think about. It is settled forever. Now silence. We never say that, and unless you declare that openly, I am giving up my right to change my decision. I am surrendering my right to decide. I am dropping my tendency to go back or to rebel. Unless you declare that, non-duality would just be fiction for you. Something nice to read. Ah, good. Yes, it entertained.